First up today, podcasts have gained millions of listeners over the last few years because they dive deep, they get very real when it comes to topics on relationships, life, career, and family.
I love that. Dandelions, a podcast for women, is no different. It's on a mission to provide a place where women know that they're not alone on issues like mom guilt, money fights, monogamy, body image. We are joined by the co-hosts who don't always agree, Julie Davidson and Molly Snyder. Great to see you, ladies.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for being here.
That probably makes it interesting if you don't agree, right?
It does, actually, and we're still kind of figuring it all out. Like, it's funny, things that we think we're going to agree on, we totally don't, and then other things we happen to agree on, then we have to bring a guest in that doesn't agree. Nobody wants to listen to what you're sitting around agreeing.
Right. Yeah, why'd you pick the name Dandelions?
That is an interesting question. Molly and I were trying to figure out different names, and I just wanted something kind of common like, hey, tune in, or girls tune in, something like that. And she said, what about dandelions? I thought, what? Dandelions? Those are weeds. And then we started talking about it and really diving into it, and she explained a little more about what dandelions really stand for. And I even asked our oldest son, I said, what do you think about dandelions? And he said, Mom, they're pretty strong. Have you noticed they don't always go away? Because he mows lawns in the summer.
Right,
they don't always go away, and they have to stand out in a field of all these other beautiful flowers.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
They're hardy, they're strong, they're bright, and you can try to stomp on them, but they still pop up. And I saw a similarity between women and dandelions, and I always thought that they were very resilient.
Yeah.
And so I understand they're also, to a lot of people, they're weeds, and they can be. But there's something very hardy, bright, that I felt like as a woman I could relate to. And they're real. And that's another thing too, is like you brought up, is like being real on the podcast, talking about real issues, really sharing no censoring, being all right with like sharing very personal details about our lives in order to make other women feel like they are not alone, or they're not experiencing anything that's any different than anyone else.
I love it. Okay, so Molly mentioned some of the topics that you guys cover, and I like the fact that you're saying these things are real, and you're talking about things that I think so many people can relate to as soon as they hear it, the mom guilt, the body image, all those kinds of things. How do you find your topics? Is it things that relate to something that you've experienced in the day, and that's why you come up with it, or just pick something that you think someone will relate to?
I think it's things that are not considered polite party talk. And
like
so
that.
sometimes when you're meeting a friend for coffee, or they message you, or even through our writing, when we write about certain topics, people say, hey, listen, can I talk to you about something? And they're a little embarrassed to talk about something. And this one here, especially Molly, she's an open book, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yes.
She's probably a little more forthcoming than I am. And we just realized that these things resonate with other women. And when we talk about them, there's a connection and hopefully also a healing, and people feel less alienated.
I like that. And I'm glad Tiff brought that up, and that you mentioned it's sort of like not polite party conversation perhaps. But I wanted to take just the 4 topics that we sort of teased on our intro. And I'd love for you to say just one word or a quick sentence about maybe a thought you have or whatever comes into your mind. So starting with mom guilt.
Have it.
I love it.
Got it bad, real bad.
It doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. You know,
I like
but
it.
we're working through it.
How about money fights?
Everyone has them, and they can get really ugly.
Yeah, we talk about that. That was actually our latest episode, which was just released on Friday. We talk about that, how bad they can get. We do bring in a financial therapist to kind of help, get us on the right track. But yeah.
And it's one of the issues that we can't talk about. It's like one of the #1 issues that is just so unpolite to talk about. But we're all experiencing it, and we're all wondering how are other people doing it?
They say it's the #1 stressor.
It really is, and it's leading to a lot of fights, a lot of divorces. We're trying to address it.
What about monogamy?
I'm monogamous. Let's just get that on camera.
Oh, great. Now, where does that leave me?
There's an exception.
What was the next topic? No,
I'm not trying to set you up.
Monogamy is an interesting one because it's a question of what do you do, even if I'm in a 10-year very committed relationship. What do you do, though, when you have thoughts? And it's okay for women to have thoughts. And what do you do if you meet someone and you just really connect, and then there's the emotional relationship you might have with someone, with the office husband or whatever. Where's the line here? Where is this okay? Where is it normal and natural? Because all women do experience these things too. And it doesn't make you anything negative necessarily. It's how do you deal with it? how do you stay truthful? How do you stay, being true to your relationship, but also recognizing that relationships form all the time in many different ways.
Yeah.
And monogamy is something that's very, very tricky. And whether or not human beings are meant to be monogamous or not is where we've decided collectively we're going to do it, right? Marriage is an important thing. We're going to do it. That's part of our society, but it doesn't mean that we always feel 100% connected to it.
Right.
Oh, don't get this one started on this conversation.
I don't think
You and I are going out for
it's
cocktails.
natural. I think it's a choice.
I completely agree. I completely agree. Completely agree.
Relationships are complicated, really. You can sum
it's
it up
hard.
saying that. They really
hard.
are. What you go in, just like motherhood, you go in thinking it's going to be a certain way, and this isn't what I thought it was going to be. So
we ran out of time. Last one, just a word, body image.
Struggle.
Yeah.
Self-love. So hard.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, I bet you guys had
It's
some
good
great
stuff, you guys.
conversations.
Oh, we do.
Yes.
Dandelions, a podcast. Here's how you can find it. You guys are available on all these sorts of outlets. That's where you find them. Any of those, or also Facebook.com/Dandelions podcast on Milwaukee.com as well. Thanks, you guys.
You write for On Milwaukee.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Got it. Love it. Come
Thank
back,
you.
you guys.
Thank
you.
There's
On
a lot,
Milwaukee.
there's a lot we didn't get to.
I know, and we can't be as open as a podcast, but we can scratch that surface.
All right.
Thank you both so much.
Thanks for having us.